Good day, my dear grade 5 pupils. Welcome to our science class. This is Teacher Bea. Come and join me as we explore the wonderful surprises of science right before your very eyes. Today we will learn the properties of materials for us to determine whether the material is useful or harmful. I know you're excited, but first, let's have a memory game. Let's see if you could still remember your lesson where you're in grade 4. Everything around us is made up of... Shout it out loud! That's great! Matter. And they exist in different forms: solid, liquid, and gas. Each of these materials have their own characteristics. Some can absorb liquid. We have also porous materials that allow air or liquid to pass through, such as paper, cardboard, sponges, and cotton. While non-porous materials do not allow air or liquid to pass through, such as stainless steel, hard covering, and other rigid synthetic elements. Some materials may float or sink. Can you think of some? Well, there are also materials that undergo decay. I'm sure you are already thinking of examples you see around you by now. Are you ready? I want to hear a very big yes from everyone. That's great! Before we continue with our discussion, I want you to think a word that comes into your mind when you see these pictures. Spoon, casserole, fork, and pot. Very good. These pictures show metal. What do we mean by metal? Metal is a group of materials that can be made into products like this. This material is used to make a product. Spoon, casserole, fork, and pot are examples of products that we use in our daily lives. Aside from metals, polymers and ceramics are also groups of material. The term polymer is often used to describe plastics which are man-made. On the other hand, ceramics come from the Greek word means pottery. Can you give me examples of objects made from polymers and ceramics? That's great! An example of polymers is a styrofoam, while vase is an example of ceramics. For sure you've already seen or even used a knife. Where do you think this knife is made from? Very good! It may not look like exactly the same as what you have in your house, but this knife is made out from a metal body and a plastic handle. What do you think will happen if the knife is made from wood, cement, or paper? I am very sure you have your answer in your mind. But before we check if you answered it correctly, let us know what property is and its two kinds. Properties are the internal and external characteristics of an object. It can be physical property and chemical property. Physical property is a characteristic of material that can readily be observed without changing its composition. Examples of this are hardness. It refers to the ability to be rigid and resistant to pressure. Brittleness, or the ability to break easily. Flexibility. It refers to the ability of material to be bent without breaking. Porosity, or the ability of the material to absorb water. Elasticity, the ability to return to original shape after being stretched, pressed, or squeezed. Conductivity, it refers to the ability of the material to let heat pass through it. And lastly, malleability, or the ability of material to be flattened into thin sheets by hammering. Chemical property is a property of materials wherein the composition of material has to change first before a certain property can be observed, or it may chemically react with another material. Such properties are combustibility. It refers to the ability of the material to burn. Flammability, or the ability of material to ignite and catch a fire. And biodegradability, that pertains to the ability of material to decompose or rot. Some characteristics of metal are the following. Metals are hard and malleable, shiny, little color, conduct electricity, high density, and difficult to burn. Polymers are stiff or flexible, dull, colorless, low melting, non-conductive, low density, and flammable, while ceramics are hard but brittle, shiny if glazed, non-conductive, and not flammable. Materials have uses according to their specific properties and characteristics. But let us keep in our mind that they can also be harmful if not properly used and handled. These materials may bring harm to our health, environment, and other organisms. Now, let us go back to the question I gave right before we discussed the properties of material. What will happen if the knife is made from wood, cement, or paper? Very good! You do listen and understood the lesson. A knife should be made from metal because metal can turn into thinner sheets, which will make it sharp. Sharp materials must be handled with extra care to avoid accidents. Metal is also hard, which do not break easily. Wooden knife will not be sharp as a metal knife because wood doesn't have the property of malleability. Concrete knife will be more dense. Thus, it will just make the knife heavy and difficult to lift. Now that you have learned the properties of matter, let us try what you've got. Identify the properties being shown by the materials by checking the correct box. Number 1. Stretching a rubber band. What property is being shown? Ductility, flexibility, elasticity. Very good! Stretching rubber band showed the property of elasticity because rubber band returned to its original shape once both ends were not pulled. Number 2. What property is being shown when you wring a wet cloth after washing it? Is it porosity, ductility, or hardness? Did you go for porosity? Then, well done! How about a burning wood? Does it show combustibility, flammability, or biodegradability? You are all correct if you chose combustibility. And lastly, number 4. A broken bottle. What property does it show? Is it malleability, conductivity, or brittleness? If you choose brittleness, then you did a great job.
Are you still with me? That's great! In this lesson, we talked about the properties of materials. A property is defined as the internal and external characteristics of a material. There are two kinds of property. The physical property is a characteristic of a material that can be readily observed without changing its composition. Examples of this are hardness, brittleness, flexibility, porosity, elasticity, conductivity, and malleability. The chemical property, on the other hand, is a property of materials wherein the composition of a material has to change first before a certain property can be observed, or it may chemically react with another material. Such properties are combustibility, flammability, and biodegradability. Let us keep in our mind that even though these materials are mostly useful, they can also be harmful if not properly used or handled. These materials may bring harm to our health, environment, and other organisms. Now, are you all set to answer the activities given in your learning activity sheets? Very good! For the first activity, using the listed activity, identify the uses and possible harm to health, environment, and other organisms if not properly used. First, scissors. How can a scissors be useful? Very good! Scissors are strong and malleable that makes it sharp, so they can cut papers and even plastics. How about its harmful effects? Good job! We might cut ourselves and cause accidents if we don't use and handle it with extra care. Second, sponge. Good! Sponge is used to wash the dishes because it can easily absorb the water mixed with dishwashing liquid. On the other hand, sponge is not biodegradable and might even cause pollution if buried. Lastly, matches. Great! Matches are used to lit a candle. But matches are toxic because of the sulfur that catches a fire. Give yourself 3 claps for doing well in the first activity. For our last activity, I want you to read each item carefully. Write the letter of your answer in your notebook. Are you ready? Great! Number 1. When is a material considered as useful? A. When it harms us. B. When it serves its purpose. Letter C. When it destroys other materials. Or D. When the material is a waste. May I know your answer? Good job! The answer is letter B. Number 2. What property of the materials below make it harmful when placed near fire? Letter A, flammability. Letter B, combustibility. Letter C, conductivity. Or D, biodegradability. If you answered letter A, well done! You've got it correctly. Third number. Granite is a type of rock used in manufacturing tiles. What property of granite makes it ideal in building floors and homes and other building structure? A, flexibility. B, hardness. C, porosity. And D, malleability. May I know your answer? Very good. Granite tiles are used because of its hardness. So the answer is letter B. Number 4. Which is true about broken drinking glasses? Letter A. Broken drinking glass are still useful. You just need to fix it with super glue. Letter B. Broken drinking glass are harmful, so it should be thrown away in the trash. Letter C. It is useful because it can still be recycled or reused. And D. It is harmful, so it should be disposed properly. If you answered letter D, you're correct. Last number. Used batteries, rusty nails, broken mirrors, and spoiled food are examples of A. Useful materials. Letter B. Harmful materials. Letter C. Harmful and useful materials. And letter D. Reusable materials. Very good. The answer for this question is letter B. Give yourself a big clap for doing great. Don't forget the things that we have discussed today. I hope you learned something. This is your Bea terrific teacher, Teacher Bea, saying, now is the time to understand more. Come and join me again next time as we discover more surprises of science. Bye!